you. Yeah, so my talk today is how we're going to, using 5G Advanced, take the evolution to a new height. Before I talk about 5G Advanced, maybe I think it's worthwhile to talk a little bit about what the mission we're trying to accomplish. In general, we have this vision that 5G could actually bring intelligence to the edge. So typically, when people talk about AI, and most of them is happening in the cloud. And of course, there are also device AIs. I think many device vendors, including Qualcomm, we announced some of these very advanced AI processing on the device. But what the 5G can do is actually bring it together and bring the intelligence to the edge of the cloud and allow you to sort of balance the compute and the communication to achieve the optimal performance. So this concept of having this connected intelligent edge is something we are pioneering in 5G, but we also bring this to 5.5G and 6G. So I think this is maybe some of the underlying trend that I think is going to impact how our industry works. So there is some projection on how much 5G is going to impact through both 5G and 5G Advanced. One of the projection was $13.5 trillion in terms of overall digital economy, spanning from not only EMBB, but from manufacturing, agriculture, education, all those areas, right? So this is a lofty goal, and how do we get there? So I think like Bernard and other speakers have talked about these very interesting use cases, what we're trying to solve. My talk will be a little bit on the nerdy side, trying to show you how sausage is made instead of the end product. So this is a timeline. I think John also flashed some of this in terms of the timeline of different releases in 5G. So the first wave of 5G, including 3 releases, release 15, 16, and 17. And we're labeling the next 3 releases of 5G, 18, 19, 20, as 5G Advanced. So that's just how we define it. But in terms of timeline, we're in the middle of the first release of 5G Advanced. It's release 18. The actual spec will be done in about 24 months, in about 1 year. We did announce this chipset. You guys probably have heard about it, the X75, which gave you more than 10 gigabits per second, and it's 5G Advanced capable. But don't ask me which exact feature it's supporting, because the spec of 5G Advanced is not fully done yet. But we have enough hardware engine in there to support many of the advanced features. So this is a sort of a map of what we have done so far in 5G. If you look at it, release 15 is establishing the framework and the baseline of all the 5G technology, basically like coding, modulation, waveform, multiple access, frame structure, mobility, all of them are, the baseline is established in release 15. Release 16, what the industry has attempted is to expand 5G to new verticals. One of the probably most notable verticals is auto. And it has been, we all know Xilinx over V2X and V2P, those things was introduced in release 16. And we also introduced positioning, which is the first non-data service that we call it, because it doesn't matter what you do with 5G right now, it's still, you're transferring bits. You're still just transporting information. What we want to do is make 5G go beyond just the transport. So this service beyond data is something that we're really trying to accomplish. So release 16 is the start of it by introducing a positioning. Release 17, we introduced new further verticals, for example, NTN. I think in this, so far, I think this year, almost in every single meeting I attended, people are mentioning NTN satellite. So it's super exciting. What's in release 18? The menu has been set. I'm going to talk a little bit detail about what's in release 18. This is sort of setting the stage for the next wave of technology we want to study. Some of them, to be honest, I think probably you'll see large-scale deployment in 6G, but some of them you can really benefit in the next couple of years already. So there is a balance of what we should drive for in 5G Advanced. There are this mobile broadband evolution and the vertical expansion. Which one do you put more effort into? It's a careful balancing act there. How much effort we put into optimizing our EMBB services that's already generating revenue versus introducing new verticals. There is also a balance of immediate commercial need and the long-term vision. That's what I mentioned. Some of these long-term visions are probably even going to keep evolving into 6G. And the last one, of course, different services and the devices versus network side evolution, right? From Qualcomm, we're providing chipset for devices, but as you guys know, we're offering also network side, chipset. I'm not trying to be a network vendor, but we're offering those components as well. So those are the balances we have to do in 5G Advanced. So here is an overview of what's in Release 18, the first release of 5G Advanced. On the left side, you can see these are fundamental technologies we're looking into. And on the right side, you'll see these are actually new devices and use cases we're introducing in 5G Advanced. So I'm going to pick a few examples. I think I'm going to talk about 4 of them. And, but as a big picture, my takeaway probably of my talk is if you can understand this mapping of this advanced MIMO, mobility, IAB, duplexing, AI, ML, green network, if you can capture this type of concept, then you understand what 5G truly brings you, 5G Advanced truly brings you on the fundamental side. And then on the device side, one of the big one there is XR, and another one is further this RedCap evolution. I think that's our X35 chipset is RedCap, and there will be further evolution of that to give you even more capability. So this is one slide in terms of AI. We already have AI everywhere. What's different in 5G Advanced is that this AI is actually a joint AI design of the air interface. Instead of using AI in the network and using AI in the device, they actually talk. Actually, this is AI on both sides will talk to each other, and the air interface itself is evolving based on data, right? So one is the model-based training, another is data-based training. So what this is actually data-based design. That's very different from, you don't have to wait for every 18 months, wait for another drop or release. Actually, air interface is evolving because the air interface is learning. So that's a key concept of the AI in 5G Advanced. It's very different from AI implementation. The second one I want to touch upon is this IoT device evolution. I think John actually gave very good examples in terms of how this IoT is evolving. Basically, Release 17, we introduced, we call NR Lite, in 3GPP called RedCap, reduced capability. Release 18 will just keep going down to try to make it lighter and lighter, lower cost, lower power. And we're also looking at the passive IoT, for example. So there is a really good roadmap in 3GPP in terms of how do we serve the IoT and vertical industries. And the third one is positioning. There has been 3 releases of positioning already. Like I mentioned, the Release 16 is the first one. We introduced some really awesome 5G positioning. For example, now, because of the implementation of massive MIMO, you could actually use a single cell to do positioning because you have both distance for ranging and you have this angular resolution. So now you no longer require like 4 cells for downlink TDOA. This is very nerdy, but some of you understand. You don't need these 4 cells to actually pinpoint the user. And vertical accuracy is also really, really good. I think we have demonstrated a couple of years already. It's getting down to like 1 meter accuracy. And the last one I want to touch upon is XR. XR can be implemented over the top, AR, VR. But what's happening here is we're optimizing the air interface for XR, for capacity, for power, for latency, and network slicing, those type of approaches. So these are just the 4 examples. Really, I think the 5G Advanced is going to bring us value. It's also going to be, continue evolving into 6G. There will be many overlap. If you listen to my 6G talk, I'm going to talk about some of the similar concepts as well, including the ML-based air interface. This is just one plug for my MWC team. We have all these demos on Qualcomm.com. We have we brought like 20 plus demos into this MWC. If you get a chance, come to Hall 3 and visit Qualcomm booth. Thank you very much.